Hey, 7th graders, it's Mr. Sarley, and right now I'm actually looking at the secret word, and if you have an idea of how I'm even making these videos in the first place, you probably have a pretty good guess of what that is. Alright, but let's get to our YouTube homework review. The first problem tonight said 3/4 plus 2/4, and adding fractions is very easy when the parts are the same size. So this first problem, both the fractions have fourths, so I know my answer is going to be a certain number of fourths. So let's shade in 3/4 for the first fraction, and then we're going to add 2 more fourths to that. And then over here for our answer, let's break up these holes into fourths. And notice I have 2 holes drawn here. That's because I know that 3/4 and 2/4 is going to be more than 4/4. So now let's shade them all in. So from the first fraction we get 3/4, and the second fraction gives us 2 more. We just beat a hole, and all right. So 2 ways we can write our answer. One would be 5/4, because that's how many fourths we have in total. Or you could write it as a mixed number, which would be 1 whole. That's what this is. It's a whole. And 1/4 more than that. So this would be a mixed number. This would be an improper fraction, but both of them are the sum of 3/4 and 2/4. All right, level 2, unlike denominators. So we have 5/8 and 2/4. We can't add them yet because they're not the same size parts, so we can't just say 5 plus 2 equals 7, and then down here put like an 8, a 4, or a 12. That would be doing this one wrong. The first thing we need to do is make the parts the same size. So let's do this one with the picture. So we have each of these little bars is an eighth of the whole, because there's 8 of them, and I just shaded in 5. Each of these little squares is a fourth of the whole, so I'm going to shade in 4 of them. So I see that eighths and fourths are related. Specifically, if I take fourths and break them down into bigger fractions, well, smaller parts, but more pieces, I would get the same size. So I'm going to take 2/4 and rewrite it as eighths, and I'm going to be multiplying by 2 to do that. And so 2/4 is equivalent to 4/8. So I'm just going to rewrite this 2/4 in eighths, because that's going to let me add this a lot easier. And to show that with the picture, it's like we took each of these squares and we broke them up into smaller rectangles. And now there's 8 of them, all the same size, and 4 of them are shaded in. So 2/4 is the same as 4/8. Now we can just add them all up, and we have the picture, so we might as well use it. Since we're adding eighths, I know my answer is going to be in eighths. So let's break up these holes into eighths. And now let's just put them all down. So we start off with 5/8. And then we're adding 4 more. 1, 2, 3, 4. So in total, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 eighths. And we can also write this as a mixed number. 9 eighths is the same as 1 whole and 1/8 more than that. On to level 3, where I take away the picture. And now we just have to think about the denominators. So 3/4 plus 3/8. I know that fourths are related to eighths because 4 goes into 8 2 times. So let's take that first fraction and find an equivalent one out of eighths. And I can multiply the denominator and numerator by 2. And 6/8 is equivalent to 3/4. And now this problem is easy because both the fractions have the same size parts, eighths. So we have 6/8, and 3/8 would be 9/8, and that's the same as 1 and 1/8. All right, number 4 says 2/3 plus 5/9. And again, just like 4 and 8 were related in number 3, 3 and 9 are related because 3 goes into 9 3 times. So I'm going to first change 2/3 into an equivalent fraction out of 9ths. And I see I can multiply the denominator by 3, so let me do the same with the numerator. And I get an equivalent fraction, 6/9. So I'm going to rename this one 6/9. And now I can add these because both of our fractions have the same denominator, the same size parts. And I have 6 parts, and 5 parts would be 11. And we're adding 9ths, so it's 11/9. As a mixed number, that would be 1 whole, which would be 9/9. And 11 is 2 more than that, so it would be 1 whole and 2/9. Okay, so on to the last one. And if you did last night's homework and checked it online, you should be able to figure this one out on your own. So 3 doesn't go into 5 evenly, and 5 certainly doesn't go into 3. So when this happens, we're looking for the least common denominator, which is basically the same as the least common multiple of both denominators. So if I take the multiples of 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, and then I take some of the multiples of 5, 10, 15, 20. I look for the first multiple that they have in common, also known as the least common multiple, and that's 15. So that's my clue that I could rename both of these fractions to 15ths, and then I'll be able to add them because they'll be the same size parts. So let's start off with 2/3, and let's make an equivalent fraction out of 15. So 3 goes into 15 5 times, so that gives me 10/15. So let's rename this one as 10/15. Moving on to the second fraction, which is 1/5. Again, we want to change it to 15ths. And I see that 5 goes into 15 3 times. And that gives me 3/15. So let's rewrite 1/5 as 3/15. And now I can add these together because they're the same size parts. So 10/15 plus 3/15 would be 13/15. Just a quick note, if you didn't choose 15ths and you went all the way until 30, you could do that too. You could have added those together and you would have gotten 26/30ths. Basically, all you need to do is find a common multiple, and that will tell you what you should change the fractions to. Okay. So on the back, some ratio review. The first problem, I tried to create something evil. That wasn't the green lion. So the Blue Devils score 6 points every 3 minutes. How many points will they score in 18 minutes? So I'm going to solve this with a double number line. So here's my setup. I have points on top and minutes on the bottom. Double number lines always start at 0. And then this first ratio, 6 points for every 3 minutes, I placed in my double number line there. And I see that 3 is going to go into 18. So I can just scale this up. So I scaled it up, and my guess is one of you guys probably made this mistake. You got up to 18, and you were like, all right, so that's what I wanted, so the answer is 9. But be careful. How many points do they score in 18 minutes? And right now we're at 18 points, so we need to keep on going. So in 12 minutes they score 24 points. Another 3 minutes would be 15, and another 6 points would be 30. Another 3 minutes would be 18, and another 6 points would be 36. And there we go. So now we're at 18 minutes. And how many points do they score? Well, they score 36 points. If you wanted to solve it with a ratio table, it would look like what I did over here in blue. And you see that 3 goes into 18 6 times. So we can multiply by 6, and we get that same answer of 36 points. Okay, so the last problem on your homework, this one's really similar to the Mariel, I think it was the Mariel reading problem from yesterday and from your quiz that confused a lot of people. So this one says the Green Lions score 4 points every 6 minutes, and what's tricky here is 6 doesn't go in to 15 minutes, and also it would be really weird to try and find the unit right here because it would be some sort of weird fraction. So I'm going to solve this using a double number line and show you why double number lines are so awesome for breaking down ratios. Okay, so we have points on top and minutes on the bottom. The ratio they give us is 4 points every 6 minutes. So let me scale that up 1, go up by the multiples. So that would mean in 12 minutes they would score 8 points, and scale it up again. In 18 minutes, they would score 12 points. Okay, so now back to the problem. The problem says how many points will they score in 15 minutes? So that looks kind of tricky here, but the cool thing about double number lines is you can go in between values, and that will really make this problem a bit easier. So if I have 4 and 6, and I want to go in between those two ratios, I'm going to divide 4 and 6 both by 2. So that would mean in 3 minutes, they score 2 points. Similarly, I can go in between here. I know I could kind of just go up now by 3. So 3, 6, this next one would be 9 minutes, and then 2, 4, this next one would be 6 minutes. Or maybe you just know that 9 is in the middle of 6 and 12, and 6 is in the middle of 4 and 8. So we can get this answer now by going in the middle of 12 and 18, which would be 15. Or you could just go up by 3s to get there. And then the middle of 8 and 12 would be 10. Or you could just go up by 2s to get there. So how many points do they score in 15 minutes? Well, they score 10 points. You could have also solved this with a ratio table, but this video is going a little long, so I'm going to end it. Okay, so what I'm looking at and what I'm writing on this whole time when I make these videos, that's the secret word for today, and I'm looking at an iPad. Okay, guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you tomorrow.